All right, all our guests are ready. Let's get their calls in first before the markets open. There's Avinash Gorakshakar, T.S. Harihar, as you can see, Jay Thakkar and Meghna Malkan. Let me start with T.S. What are your three picks? I'll ask you the logic later on so that the viewers get what your top three picks are. I don't know if T.S. could hear me. T.S., what are your top picks? I'll ask the logic later on. Just give me your three names so that the viewers can get it before markets open.
Okay, I think we are positive on three stocks today.
Right.
The first is Jain Irrigation at a price of about 76, 77. The second stock we are positive on is Cafe Coffee Day or Coffee Day Enterprises as it is called at a price of about 235. And the third and the final stock is Dish TV at a price of about 86 at this point of time.
All right, I'll come back to you. Avinash, your three top picks.
First topic is SBI. We believe that, from the large cap space, SBI has definitely shown good numbers. So here, one could buy at the current levels. Second stock is a mid-cap company called Omkar Specialty Chemicals.
Okay.
The company came out with very strong numbers, and we believe that, the earnings story would be very strongly felt here. And the third company is Jain Irrigation. We also like the stock. We believe that, short term and medium term, there could be a good risk-reward ratio.
Okay, Jay Thakkar and Meghna Malkan, give us technical calls. Jay, your picks?
Sure. The first buy recommendation is on Cipla, wherein we are targeting around 590 on the upside. Second is a buy recommendation on HSIL, where I'm targeting around 370 to 390 going forward. Our short-term two short calls. One is on Reliance, where I'm targeting around 990 on the lower side, with a stop loss of around 1050. And another sell call I have, that's on Aurobindo Pharma, where I'm targeting around 690.
All right.
To 710 range.
I'll get the details later. I just got the names first. Meghna, before markets open, you have 30 seconds to give us your three calls. We'll get your targets later on.
Yeah, my buy calls, I would like to give two buy calls on JSW Steel and Biocon, and I would like to give a sell call on Tata Motors.
Sell call on Tata Motors. So let me get these. Harihar, Jain Irrigation, Cafe Coffee Day, Dish TV, all three buy. Avinash, SBI, Omkar Specialty Cables and also Jain Irrigation. We have Jay Thakkar with Cipla and HSL buy, RIL and Aurobindo as sells. Two buy calls from Meghna, JSW Steel, Biocon and a sell on Tata Motors. All right, markets opening in just 10 seconds. Pankaj.
Right on, and we have the first tick coming right now. As far as Nifty is concerned, 3 points down. ICICI Bank down about 0.25%. Hindalco 154 was among the top gainers yesterday. Tata Motors is up 3 to 4 rupees. Idea Cellular 94.95. Adani Ports 274.50 paisa higher. Sun Pharma down close to 1% or so. We spoke about the news flow about management pledging shares. I think that's the reason why it's down about 1%. Tata Power 0.5% higher, 76.77. Sun Pharma is, I think, the top loser right now. It's down close to about 1% or so in the Nifty. Okay, 1% plus now, 1.07. It's among the top losers. Was 774, 775. TCS is the second top loser, down 0.8. BPCL is down 0.6. BPCL, HPCL have got a downgrade coming in from Merrill Lynch. Treehouse is up 13%. I think the merger ratio would be in favor of Treehouse, or it would, just get that price arbitrage coming. Let's just look at Z-Learn as well. I think Z-Learn also would have gone ahead. The merger ratio is 1:1. Yeah, Z-Learn. There would be a difference of about 1-2 rupees into these names because of the execution risk that is there. But broadly, both of these names should follow what each others are doing. Z-Learn 34.35. Treehouse we saw was also up. Hero MotoCorp, it's an update about the promoters, the change in the management, 1.2% higher, but I don't think it's up because of this reason. It was already known. It's just an update that finally this has happened. ITI is up 11. Okay, Piramal is up close to 4%. There was a small acquisition that they did about $54 million, 1,843 for Piramal. Jaiprakash Associates, it's down about 1.8, but it was more of a confirmation that the CBI raids have happened. 2% decline. Parag Milk, there is a new launch that they have done. I don't think it'll have much of an impact till we get any first sort of a news coming in. Nestle, generally not a very frequently traded counter. Let's look at IOC, BPCL and HPCL. So IOC is up about 0.8. I think HPCL and BPCL would have seen a decline coming in largely because of what's happening as far as the downgrade from Merrill Lynch is concerned. HPCL 1,222, no real change. BPCL, last I checked, was slightly on the lower side. Let's just pull up Just Dial as well. Numbers, of course, were not particularly great. The stock is down about 5% 5% decline as far as Just Dial is concerned. 459, 460. Numbers were quite clearly a big disappointment, and that's the reason why we are seeing this sort of a move. Look at the volumes as of now, not picked up much more than averages, but definitely will pick up throughout the day today.
Right. Let's just take a look at what has the highest turnover right now, and it looks like ITI Limited is the one with the maximum change in turnover. Right now, Piramal Enterprises has come up. We told you in the morning that they are buying a generic drug maker, contract drug making firm called Ash Stevens for about $53 million. So Piramal is up 4.5%. Interglobe Aviation is up. A lot of buy calls on Interglobe right now. 2.4% up. Aditya Birla Nuvo, has been in the news for the past 2 days since Friday. 1.3% up there. Hero MotoCorp, as Pankaj mentioned, quite a bit of buying there. So high turnover. We don't usually see that happen. Axis Bank has come up 1.6% up. Jet Airways 1.3%. So aviation stocks are actually doing well. Jet Airways numbers had been kind of disappointing, and it took a beating on over the last few days. And today it has recovered quite a bit. Dish TV, and we were mentioning earlier, Dish TV numbers are going to come out today. 1.1% up. Havells India 1% up. REC 1% up. Bharat Forge up about 1%. Escorts is up about 1%. Dish TV is on the buy call of, sorry, I got that wrong. Dish TV numbers are not coming out today. Dish TV is on a buy list of TS Harihar. We'll get the details on why he thinks Dish TV is worth a buy. Just Dial down 4.6% on the highest traded, one of the highest traded counters. Very weak numbers. The first time that we are seeing sequential revenue drop in Just Dial. There's been realizations drop, EBITDA margin at the lowest. So big no from the markets, 4.6%. Sun Pharma 1.2% down on heavy volumes, heavy turnover. TCS down about 1%. Infosys continues its losing streak. Yesterday they had announced that they've lost one big consumer client, which is RBS. And yesterday it went down 1%. Day before yesterday about 1%. Today again about 1% down. Jain Irrigation Systems on the buy list of both our fundamental guests, Harihar and Avinash Gorakshakar. And you're going to get it slightly cheap today. Jain Irrigation went up sharply when the numbers came out. Yesterday's gains were quite sharp, 5.3%. The day before that, when numbers hadn't yet come out, it was 1.3% up. So it had gone up about 7% in just 2 days. So today you're going to get it slightly cheaper in case you want to buy that. So that's the picture. Let's look at what is happening to the Nifty. Actually, the Nifty is in the green. So it's near its close yesterday, and the Sensex is the same. Absolutely flat. Let's see as the markets move, as the day progresses, what happens there. All right, let me go back to Harihar. Harihar, Jain Irrigation, the logic. Give us the logic, because I'll take that. That's a common with Avinash. So I'm going to just take up Jain Irrigation with you, TS, and then go to Avinash as well and see what are the points, common points for your investment logic. Let me start with TS Harihar.
See, a couple of things. I think this stock has been in a small range of about 60 to 70 for a fairly long time. And I think that was largely because in the absence of any key triggers. Now, what are the triggers? I think there are 2 or 3 key triggers for Jain Irrigation. The first is that the government plans to spend extensively in terms of investments on drip irrigation. And today within India, the one company that has a virtual, I would say, a monopoly over the drip irrigation systems is Jain Irrigation. So I think it is likely to immediately and substantially benefit from that particular line of business. Second is, Jain Irrigation has typically been a stock that has moved positively with the increase in rural spending. Now, this time there are 2 positive triggers. One, the government has increased the rural spending, number 1. And number 2, a good monsoon will mean that rural incomes will automatically go up. And since the rural India tends to have a higher propensity to spend on inputs, it could directly benefit a stock like Jain Irrigation. So considering these 2 factors, we like the stock with a short-term target of about 90 to 93. But we feel that in the long run, if you take a 2 to 3 year perspective, the stock could actually be a multibagger.
Multi-bagger 2 to 3 year perspective. Avinash, let me throw that question to you. You know, yesterday we were speaking to the management of Jain Irrigation and they said that we have changed the old model. The old model used to be that the government subsidizes 50 to 60%, in some cases 80% of a micro irrigation project in a farm. Now they've, and they had to wait for ages to get that money back. Now they don't look at that subsidy model. They essentially wait for financing. The farmers get financing. But the problem now is that if the government gives indication to farmers that they're going to again subsidize, then it will be back to that model and cash flows will be affected.
No, I think clearly, you're right. The management has clearly mentioned that, they have changed the model partially because funding has now become available to farmers. But I think what came out in the management call was quite encouraging. The company has an order book of almost 1,200 crores and they expect a very strong second half. They have clearly mentioned that, in the first quarter, top line was down because of poor demand due to water scarcity in the first quarter. But I think looking at the kind of order book and the kind of margins which have gone up in the first quarter, my sense is, I think, this is a stock which one should hold for the next 6 to 12 months. Not only the monsoons, but even the other businesses are going to do well. So clearly, in terms of the earnings growth, in terms of the kind of visibility, our sense is that, 95, 96 is a very near-term target. And I think people should look at it from a medium-term perspective.
Medium-term perspective, 95, 96. And you think, Avinash, that one can even hold it for 6 to 12 months, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Let me go back to TS Harihar, Cafe Coffee Day, known as Coffee Day on the markets. Now, my question to you, Harihar, is that if I look at its FY17 EPS estimate, if I look at FY18 EPS estimate, then we're moving from 4 rupees to 7 rupees, right? At that price, it looks frightfully expensive.
No, see, one of the reasons if you compare a Cafe Coffee Day with other FMCG companies, it quotes at a fairly large discount to other FMCG companies. And the reason is very simple. It's a holding company model as opposed to the other FMCG companies. So typically in India, a holding company model tends to get a discount in valuations. So I wouldn't say it's expensive. I would say actually in comparison to other FMCG companies, it is cheap. Now, what has changed for Cafe Coffee Day is two things. Firstly, I think this time the coffee crop is likely to be a little weak. So that means the coffee trading business of Cafe Coffee Day is likely to benefit substantially from higher coffee prices.
Okay.
The second and more important thing I think is that a lot of people are not aware, but Cafe Coffee Day is a very large logistics subsidiary and it is a stake in Sikka Logistics, which is likely to benefit substantially once the GST gets through. So if you look at the sum of parts approach to Cafe Coffee Day, I would believe it's a lot more valuable. It's about 30-35% down from its IPO price. And I think it gives a good opportunity to enter at this point of time. So we have a target of about 275 over a 1 quarter period.
How much do they own in Sikka Logistics?
The exact percentage I'm not aware of. Okay,
I know. I'm just looking at the sum of parts valuation. Again, when I look at something like its interest coverage ratio on Cafe Coffee Day itself, it's about 1.04%. I mean, EBIT by the interest payout, 1.04 times. And if I look at the debt, 2,300 crores debt, same store sales on the retail side of Cafe Coffee Day, in this quarter has actually dropped, although their profits have gone up. So you are saying that the bet is actually on the trading, coffee trading and the logistics play rather than the Cafe Coffee Day franchise itself.
Yes, we are not too positive on the Cafe Coffee Day franchise, which we believe could at best be a market performer.
Okay, that could at best be a market performer. All right, Dish TV, Harihar, the logic behind that.
Well, we like Dish for a couple of reasons, and we have been liking it for a long time, although I must say that the price performance has not been too flattering. A couple of things I think go in favor of Dish TV. The first is that, the movement to digital, I think, is gradually picking up. And over the next probably 6 months to a year, I think that shift should actually become a torrent. So that we believe should substantially benefit Dish TV. The second and big thing we normally miss out on Dish TV is that they have a virtual monopoly over the Mofussil areas like smaller towns, smaller cities, larger rural areas. I think these are areas where the digital is entirely dominated by Dish TV. And also they have a model, you know, which kind of mixes broadcasting, which mixes content, which mixes DTH. So I think it gives a much more synergy to this company if you compare it with other DTH companies. And since it's the only big listed play, you know, we find it as a very good play on digital media. So we like the stock with a target of about 100, 105. But over the long term, as I keep saying, you know, it's a much bigger story that's likely to play out over a period of time.
All right, let me go back to Avinash, and then I'm going to go to my the technical experts after that. Avinash, Omkar Specialty Chemicals. I understand, if I'm not mistaken, they're into API and they also do specialty chemicals for... now, there was a talk of a demerger of one of the arms sometime back. Has that already happened?
No, I think you're right. I think they are into specialty chemicals, largely catering to the pharma and the animal feed business. In fact, 70% of their business comes from the pharma sector, 30% from specialty chemicals. I think the demerger will happen sometime by the end of FY17, which was clearly discussed in the previous management call. But I think what is interesting in the last 4 years, they have added roughly 150 crores to the gross block, entirely out of internal accruals and debt. And the kind of numbers which were posted yesterday, top line is up by 25%. Bottom line is up by almost 40%. The company will have a management call today, but I think earnings numbers are exceedingly strong. We expect, that last year's EPS of 14 would be roughly about 19-20 rupees current year. And clearly with the kind of EBITDA margins, visibility, our sense is that this is a good mid-cap stock if one were to hold it for the next 12 months. We are looking at a target price of around 190 to 195.
One of the things that you read in a primer on investing, value investing, is that don't buy shares in companies where the promoters are selling. Recently, I remember sometime last year or maybe this year, the promoters sold some amount of shares. Now, was that to raise funds, and has that been productively used?
Actually, the promoter selling has been addressed earlier. This point was basically discussed at the previous management call also.
Right.
And clearly, the management has made a conscious effort that, in future they will not fund working capital or any asset acquisition by, promoter selling shares. So I think clearly, this promoter selling has to be seen in the perspective that some asset creation has happened in the last 3 to 4 years. So I think, prima facie promoter selling shares is not good. But if it is done for a good purpose, I think, one has to see a longer term kind of horizon.
Right. Okay. Avinash, stay with us. Jay Thakkar is here. Jay, you gave us the names that you're buying and the ones that you're selling. Now just give us the logic and the stop loss and the targets.
Sure. Well, I have a buy recommendation on HSIL, wherein I've seen a good inverse head and shoulders pattern breakout, which is a bullish pattern. Okay. And the momentum indicators are well into the buy mode, maybe on daily, weekly or the monthly charts. So at all the degrees, we are seeing a good reversal in the momentum indicators from sell to buy. The volumes have in fact picked up with this breakout, so it is a price volume breakout. The conservative target comes to its next swing resistance, that comes to around 370. On surpassing those levels, we can see the stock inching towards the levels of 390. On the lower side now, the neckline support is spiked at around 320. So below that, one can place a stop loss and target around 370 and thereafter 390 on HSIL. The second buy recommendation I have is on Cipla, in which we have seen a similar kind of pattern, which is an inverse head and shoulders pattern, a bullish pattern. After a 5-wave declining structure on the weekly charts, we are expecting some retracement, at least 50% retracement of his entire fall. Now this will get Cipla back to its next swing resistance, which comes to around 590, and for that one can maintain a stop loss below the levels of 540 on a closing basis. As far as Reliance is concerned, this stock has been trading in a range which everyone knows now on the street, but now the range is getting narrower and narrower, and in yesterday's trading session, we have seen this stock reversing from the upper end of the range. Again, I am expecting the same thing to happen, that it falls back to its lower end of the range till we eventually see a breakout from this range whenever it comes. So as of now, just going playing the history of the recent history of 5 to 6 years, since it has reversed from the upper end of the range, one can sell here. The probability of a downside is high and the risk reward is quite in favor of the bears. The target comes to around 990 to 1000 levels on Reliance. On the upside, one can place a stop loss above the levels of 1050. Another sell call I have is on Aurobindo Pharma, where we have seen a breakdown from a head and shoulders pattern, a bearish head and shoulders pattern, and on the upside, there is a strong resistance around 750, 755 zone. So in that area, one can place a stop loss on a closing basis. One can target around on the lower side 690 to 710. These are the levels. So 710 to 690 based on the risk reward and the risk appetite. One can place the target. The stop loss remains the same.
And what is the Aurobindo Pharma trading period? How many days should one look at that? Because I'm just looking at the trade today, and the candle formation seems to suggest that the fall has been, I mean, it's very early obviously, but the fall seems to have been kind of restricted now, if you have that in front of you.
Yeah, absolutely, I have that. The fall is now restricted, but then see, the indicators have gone into sell mode. We have seen that bearish pattern coming on the charts. So then till we don't see a reversal in the indicators or the charts, I think one should stick to the short strategy.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is possible that you'll see a bit of a movement up today, but you're saying that it's best to, so you'll have to ride out that slight reversal in your holding, right? Okay. Let me get Meghna in. Meghna, first, before you give us our calls, I'm interested in knowing that you're designated trading coach. What does that exactly mean?
Hi, good morning. That means there's somewhere a problem. I think that I had a training institute where we coach people to become professional traders and trade for a living. So that's how it mentions as a trading coach at my council.
That's very interesting. All right, just give us your calls and just tell us the details a little bit.
Yeah, well, I have two buy calls. First is on Biocon. Well, if you see, technically Biocon has been moving into higher zones. This is one stock which is consistently making higher tops, higher bottoms on daily chart. If you see the momentum on all three time frames, the momentum has been bullish throughout. Therefore, I would like to, I've maintained a buy call on Biocon since the level of 550. It still remains a buy at these levels too. So that calls for a buy on Biocon with a stop of 825 for a higher target of 890. That's for Biocon. My second buy call is on JSW Steel. It's kind of a huge pattern breakout on JSW Steel on monthly charts. The stock is broken out from the previous resistance. Again, this is one stock which is continuously making new highs. Momentum is bullish on all three time frames, daily, weekly as well as monthly charts. Hence a buy call on JSW Steel. I believe that stock could go to 1900 levels very soon. So that's a buy call for with a stop of 1725 for a short-term target of 1820.
And you have one sell call, right?
Yeah, the sell call is on Tata Motors. That's purely based on, that's more of a trading call on Tata Motors. You can sell with a stop of 515. I believe it's trading quite close right now. If you see, if you have to study the daily chart of Tata Motors, the candlestick formation as well as the momentum, the way it's halted, I believe we are in for a correction, for a short correction very soon. Hence a sell call with a stop of 515 for a lower target of 485.
485 at a lower target. Right now it's at 512. Do you want to change the stop loss at all? It's very close to your stop loss right now. Or it
I'd like to change stop loss at 519.
519. All right. The 519. Earlier we had a 515 stop loss, I think. So we're changing that to 519 for Meghna Malkan. Thank you so much, all of you joining us. And I hope our viewers have got a lot of buy and sell ideas today. Thanks a lot, gentlemen. I just want to quickly take, if any one of you has any disclosures to make, I think we should take them right now. Let me start with Harihar.
Well, I don't have any of the stocks I discussed, but we are definitely recommending the stocks to our clients.
All right. Avinash?
Yeah, I think on a personal level, I don't have any positions in the stocks recommended. Our clients can be having some positions here.
All right. And Jay?
Sure. Those stocks which we have discussed, among which we have a recommendation on other two stocks like HSIL, but we don't have a recommendation on Oro and Reliance. But that we might have communicated to a few of our clients and not all. But other two stocks definitely were recommended to all of our clients. Neither of the stocks are there in my portfolio.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. We just lost the connection with Meghna, but I think she did mention that she had recommended all these stocks to her clients, and she has actually recommended Biocon from very low levels. All right. Thank you so much.